Stu Smith here, going live. Hope you guys are well. And today is our CSS critique show. So I'll show some videos that you guys submitted and want me to fix your stroke. We are also going live over here on Instagram and Facebook as well. So there you go. Easy day, getting the word out there. I realized yesterday, as I was having to cut the show short, that I had probably about 8 or 9 questions that were not answered. So why don't we just jump right into those, and I will start answering them now. So, what kind of booties do you recommend using rocket fins? I'm using Aqua Socks but they're not quite thick enough and they rub the top of my feet pretty badly. Yeah, if you're having any issues with your fins, first of all, Aqua Socks are an option, but chances are you need a thicker booty, scuba booty. And you can find these online, probably 30, 40 bucks. My advice is get one with a little sole on it. You don't want one that's too thick of a bottom sole, because that will fill up that fin footwell and it'd be real hard to get your foot in there. So that needs to also be just a little thicker than a sock. Basically, it's a little piece of rubber with some grip on it so you don't slip. But yeah, little bit thicker, 1/4 inch, probably somewhere around there. Should treat your feet a lot better. If someone was a bodybuilder and was over 60 pounds overweight with beach muscles, would you suggest they just run at a rucking pace rather than actually run until they start losing excess weight? Well, I will say, muscle's hard to burn off. You can still do it. If you have some bulk in there, it's a little mix of both. But it's really going to start in the kitchen. So your lower calories per day are going to be absolute necessity. But yeah, you just need to do a lot more activity as well. Do you want to run at 60 pounds overweight? I probably wouldn't. I mean, you're basically rucking already, if you think about it. So yeah, if you're walking fast, power walking, short stride shuffle with a ruck, that's fine. But personally, my advice would be to treat it like a triathlete would, right? So 1/3 of your cardio can be ground impact, like power walking, rucking, basically, with your extra body weight. But the other 2 can be non-impact cardio, biking, rowing, elliptical, swimming, something like that. It's still going to be beneficial for you cardiovascularly, burn some extra calories, keep doing your calisthenics and some weights. But in the end, it comes down to how much you're really eating at the end of the day to lose weight. What would you estimate the guess of progress following your program on phase 1 through 4 Bud's books? Well, that's a good question. I don't have the other 2, but this is phase 2 and 3 all in one book. It's everybody's different. My advice is, if you want to start off with phase 1, you'd probably want to be in that area where you can't quite finish the PST without having to stop, whether that is stopping the swim, stopping the run, can't do 2 minutes of push-ups and sit-ups. It's a good place to start. But if you're close. Now, if you can't even come close to that, can't do any pull-ups, my advice would be to can't run, can't swim 500 yards. My advice is start off with the calisthenics and cardio program, because that has a beginner intermediate progression for you. Phase 1's a little bit harder than that one, so I would say, minimum standards on the PST is a great one for you, that it go to the next level and be competitive. In those 12 weeks, there's an extra 4 weeks in there for the OFT, or not the OFT, the human performance test in the Navy that they do, which has some lifting in it. Phase 2 and 3 is a little more specific towards BUDS itself. I mean, if you read the line, get through selection, prep for specific events, that's what that one's about. And by the way, these are workout books. Everything I write is a workout book. Somebody asked, is your workout in phase 1 book? Is your workout in the phase 1 BUDS book? Yeah. Every one of these are workouts. I got over 45 of them. But anyway, everybody's going to be a little bit different. I've had some people that don't even need phase 1, so they go straight into phase 2, 3. I've had people that need to start off way beginner before the cows and cardio on their journey, lose 50 pounds, and start training a little bit longer. Now, that took a little over a year and a half. But I've seen people do it as quickly as 3 months too, just training some specifics for what they're getting into. And then phase 4, that's just a gut check. It's got a little Hell Week simulator in there that I really like. It's basically treats you like the first 4 weeks of BUDS, which kind of gets you through the grind of boats and logs and all of that stuff. So it's a good one. Usually people who do that are ready after those 3 combos. I wouldn't have written them if it wasn't helping people. Do I have to lose a lot of weight to do a pull-up? A pull-up is extremely difficult for me. Well, you got 2 things. You can either lose weight or get stronger. Preferably a little bit of both. So lose a little bit of weight, pull-up's easier. Get a little stronger, pull-up's easier. Doing your program and doing weight training every 3rd or 4th week, like my block periodization model, and try to maintain strength, but I feel like I'm getting weaker. Should I have more weight training? Well, it just depends. Are your other scores getting better? Because that's the goal of this. Like, this block periodization is set up with 2 goals. You have a primary goal of getting better at calisthenics and cardio, and you have a secondary goal of maintaining your strength. Now, your strength being maintained doesn't necessarily you're going to be at your 1 rep max the entire time you're not lifting. That's unrealistic. But you're still strong enough. Don't necessarily need to be worried about that unless you are coming from an endurance background and you're just weak. Then you probably need to focus more the other way around and lift more and cals and cardio less. It just depends on what you're working on. If you're working on cals and cardio, muscle stamina and endurance, focus on muscle stamina and endurance. Every 4th week, take a little deload off of it. Give yourself a break. Lick your joints, lick your wounds, so to speak. Just so you can kind of come back and rebuild and get ready for the next 4-week progression. That's what the system's all about. So read through the articles on block periodization, and maybe you'll understand a little better. But it's hard to get strong at the same time as get faster in timed runs and higher repetitions in calisthenics. It can be done, and you can even gain weight with it, but it's challenging. What do you recommend for extended UCL tendinitis? I can bench and overhead. UCL tendinitis. UCL is a ligament. I think you may be confusing some things here. I can bench and overhead lift heavy and deadlift. I do tons of push-ups, but I have to stop with pull-ups because it bothers my elbow. Are you sure you have UCL injury? Because a UCL is a tear, right? It is a ulnar collateral ligament, right? UCL, right in here. It's the one that gets injured when you're a pitcher and you get Tommy John surgery. That ligament gets fixed. Tendinitis, completely different animal. And we're looking at a total different soft tissue that connects to the bone and the muscle. It's a little tendon in there. So it sounds like your pull-up grips are hard, so it's probably down here. So my advice is get one of those little bands and grab onto the forearm part of your arm right here. Get yourself one of these. It's an ice pack, right? Keep it right here. Wrap that ice pack around your forearm, because it's probably your grip issues. So another thing you could do, you probably still do pull-ups if you change your grip. So this way might hurt. This way might be able to do it. Or this way, as a prone grip, you might be able to do those a little better and still get some pull-ups in. But yeah, in fact, let me do a quick Google search for you. UCL tear versus elbow tendonitis, because they're very similar. In fact, check out this article. It's from a physical therapist. Highly recommend this. Read this article because it will explain the difference between the tendon and the ligament injury of the elbow, which will feel very similar. But yeah, it's, you can typically have like a golfer's elbow or a tennis elbow, and it really kind of depends on which tendon is inflamed and to what's making it hurt. But a UCL is a completely different animal. In fact, here's a good sentence here. Many of the symptoms between UCL tear and tendonitis are similar. However, the UCL is torn, you may hear a pop. A golfer's elbow and a UCL tear both affect the inner elbow, while tennis affects the outer elbow. In addition, the UCL tear and the golfer's elbow may both cause tingling and numbness in the pinky and ring fingers, but tennis elbow should not. There you go. Interesting. All right, last question from the ones I missed yesterday. Do you need to squat weight to run a sub 9-minute mile and a half? No, there are plenty of people who don't lift and run sub 9-minute mile and a half. However, there are many people who lift and can run a sub 9-minute mile and a half. Really kind of depends on your athletic history. I have seen people get faster after a lift cycle, but not in the middle of a lift cycle. Okay, so let's say you're a 7-minute miler. So you're probably running a mile and a half about 10:30. But you've come from an endurance background, like you're a rower or a swimmer. You're not used to running, so you don't quite have the running down yet. Go through a lift cycle, get a little stronger, come back, do a running cycle with some calisthenics, work on your muscle stamina in your legs after having done a little bit of strength training, and now you come back and hit that 6-minute mile. That's one way to do it. So kind of yes and no with that one. All right. That's all I had left over from yesterday. I appreciate your questions. I'm going to start from the top over here at Instagram. Looks like people are just joining in. Hope you guys are doing all right. Just want to say love your stuff. I've been getting ready right now to do one of your workouts. Love running with ACE the IST PFT for Marine Corps program. Covers everything for my PFT. Awesome. Yeah, that's why I made it, man. It's a good little workout. I thought I had a sample one here to show, but I do not. Yeah, that Marine Corps IFT PFT prep, really good one. Especially if you're going Marine Corps. All right, so it looks like we're good over here. Let me see what new questions we have. Over here, the broccoli industry says, is neck training recommended prior to attending SWIC selection, and how important is rucking in selection? That's a good question. I know they do logs and they have boats. So I would assume yes. rucking is just one of those things that is a gut check, and rucking on the beach is just one of those events that really sucks. They used to do a lot more rucking, especially at Buds. And I have to look into how much rucking and logs and boats the SWIC guys have. We've had several guys go through SWIC. I will tell you this. We trained our SWIC guys the same way we trained our guys going to Buds. Really wasn't any difference because they needed to run, they needed to swim, they needed to be good at load bearing. High rep calisthenics have some strength for them as well to handle the load bearing. So, be honest with you, that's what I recommend. But I will confirm that later today and talk about it next week. I'm doing your program and doing weight training every. Didn't I just answer this? Yeah. Should I do more strength training days or do it every 2 weeks instead? I think we went over this a little bit. I don't think you necessarily need more strength training days unless you're coming from an endurance background and you're naturally weak, but you're good at cals and cardio. But if you're trying to get better at cals and cardio, focus on that primary goal and just let strength be a secondary goal for a cycle. Doesn't have to be long, 6, 8, 12 weeks maybe. But after that, get back into your lift cycle and then flip it. And you do 3 weeks of lifting, 1 week of cals and cardio, like in this one. We're going to be jumping into this type of cycle here in the winter. Seems like my bench is directly correlated to my push-up ability. If I have a good bench, I can do 90 plus. If I don't, I struggle to hit 70. I'll be honest with you. I've seen people with not good benches crank out push-ups like nobody's business. People with good benches crank out push-ups with nobody's business. I've also seen people with great benches not do great on push-ups. Everybody's a little bit different. So I don't have a one-size-fits-all answer for you. But here's something I'll compromise with you. Something I like to do is right after I finish a bench press set, and you can throw any upper body day you have, throw in a bench press set. But then give yourself maybe, let's say you do 5 sets of bench press. On those 4th and 5th sets of bench press, drop off the bench press and crank out as many push-ups as you can immediately after your bench press. You'll probably get 8 to 10 because you're just smoked. And you're going to see that's going to simulate the last 20 or 30 seconds of a 2-minute push-up test. It works really well. I've seen guys blow up their push-ups by mixing the two like that. And you can do it anyway. You can go heavy and drop down. You can go light, drop down. You can go body weight bench press for max reps. Drop down, crank out as many push-ups as you can. It all hurts. And it really simulates that muscle stamina needed without all the reps and time to get into that phase of push-up. So try that. That's my compromise to you. My recruiter finished SFAS and said never to stop strength training if you're doing SF. I took that into consideration. Hey, if you need it, do it. Right? If you don't need it and you need to focus more on your calisthenics and cardio, don't lift. Because I will tell you this, I came, like I know this is, you've heard this before, but I came from a powerlifting background, been lifting weights since I was 13. By the time I was 20, I was becoming a decent candidate for Spec Ops. And I didn't lift weights for the final year before Buds because I wanted to get better at my high rep calisthenics, muscle stamina, and I wanted to be a better runner and swimmer. That's what I really needed to do. And guess what? When I went back to lifting, about 6 weeks later into a lift cycle, I was back to all my old 1 rep maxes. So, not that big a deal. Still had strength. I was still stronger than most of the guys in my class, even though I hadn't lifted for a year. Let's see. Somebody said Ryan's talking about golfer's elbow here. Yeah, I didn't see a question in there. Oh, yeah. Okay. Ryan's. All right. Well, thanks. Put some questions in here. In your phase 1 book, what are good scores when taking the PST week 9 PST test? How much improvement do you see between week 9 and completing the phase 1 book? Usually people will be on an upward trajectory when they hit that week 9. They may be starting to fatigue a little bit, may find that plateau, but they're usually pretty good there. Good scores, I would say, sub 9 swim, 80 push-ups, 80 sit-ups, 15 to 20 pull-ups, 9-minute or 9:30 run, somewhere in there. That's really what I would say are pretty good. And then you go through another cycle, another 3 or 4 week cycle at the end. Many people have seen sub 9 run and swim, maybe even 8 flat on the swim. Flirting with 80 and 90, maybe even 100 on the push-ups, maybe even 20 plus on the pull-ups. Those are very typical scores from people who do that program. I don't know if you've seen some of the testimonials I post on my Instagram, but those are real emails and DMs that people send me, and they show me before and afters. I'm like, damn, good job. And I usually don't post them unless they are, hey, I took my first PST with my, recruiter, because those are much different scores than someone say, hey, I took a PST in my backyard on my own and I did 135 push-ups. Yeah, chances are somebody's probably going to take off a significant number of those if they're not full push-ups. So, as long as it's an official PST by somebody who's grading it, I consider that pretty darn good. I was curious what day-to-day work as a SEAL would look like. Also running 40 miles a week enough for selection. 40 miles a week is plenty. I don't think you need to run any more of that. I've seen people run more and not do well. I've seen people run less and do quite well. So 40 is about as high as I would ever recommend, but I'm usually somewhere in that 30, 35 miles a week, but I still do a lot of extra cardio. And what I mean by that is some biking, some rowing, something, extra swimming, something that still works the aerobic base that you need to be good cardiovascular system and performance without all the impact pains that come with adding another 10 or 15 miles a week. So, and when you do that, you don't just jump into 40 miles. I actually had a guy the other day who was doing my program, and he was worked his way up. Took us like 12 weeks to get up to 32 miles a week. He was doing well, no problem. And then one of his buddies said, hey, you should be doing 60 miles a week. And he goes, okay, I'll do that. And then without even talking to me, he did 60 miles in a week. And Now he can't run for the next month because his shins are all jacked up and he's got knee tendonitis. So make sure you don't do that, and make sure you you progress logically with this stuff. All right, sorry I tried to retract my question because you already answered it. Don't worry about it. Any tips for the 50-meter underwater swim? I've been very inconsistent with it. Yeah, be careful practicing that one. You know, it's anything underwater. Don't do by yourself. Don't swim by yourself if you're doing breath holds or underwater stuff. It's just a risky thing that many people die, unfortunately, over the years that are candidates to go to these type of training programs, and they never even joined the Navy because they've been practicing breath holds and 50-meter underwater swims by themselves. And you can Google it. There's deaths every year. Maybe not every year. I'd say maybe every other year. But it's enough that where I remember several of them. So be careful with that. My advice is watch some of the underwater swim videos I have up on YouTube. Got a couple up on Instagram and TikTok. And notice the efficiency to get underwater from one end to the other. My advice is see if you can do a 25 yards underwater in 4 strokes, maybe 5 at the max, because I want you to like streamline perfectly. Big, hard double arm pull, hold that glide, kick and recover, be tight on that recovery. Big double arm pull. Next thing you know, you're able to do that in 3, sometimes 4 strokes to get across the pool. That's with a kickoff. Then start practicing without a kickoff and a front flip. See how that feels. And then start piecing together the back half of that 25. But my advice is just get really efficient at underwater swimming, but don't push yourself to a 50-meter underwater swim. There's really no need to it. You'll be surprised. You know, when I did that underwater swim at Buds, we had started our Buds class with 120 people that week. By the time we took our first test, that 50-meter underwater test, we're down to 20. So we lost 20 people just from various things that happened in that first week, running, whatever. And then we took the test. And I remember we walked in there with 100 people. We did a head count before we got 100. I'm like, oh, this would be interesting. Wonder what percentage of people will pass and fail this thing. And no kidding, 100% of the people pass this test. It's not one of those tests that many people fail. And to this day, I have only met one person that failed that test and got kicked out of Buds for failing it. So maybe there are more. I'm sure there are, but it is pretty rare. What's a good 4-mile timed run to ship on? I recommend 28 minutes, 4-mile timed run. Easy, not a gut check. I would say if you were gut checking it and you really wanted to push your numbers, I would say 26. Pretty good. But if you can do an easy 28, that's going to be solid for you. Is the TRX or lat pull down machine a good way to help getting more pull-ups? I've been doing as many pull-ups as I can and then use the TRX to finish the set. Absolutely. I recommend doing this though. Get as many pull-ups as you can till you fail. Then resort into a like 5 to 10 second negative. Maybe do that once or twice. Then resort to something easier. So that can be a pull-down machine. It can be a band. It can be a TRX. Absolutely. And do another set like that. And just top off your pull-ups with a little easier version of the pull-up to get more volume. Good. That's the way it should be. Swim buddy or lifeguard. Nice. Let's see. Does breath holding help when running or using assault bike? Someone recommend breath holds when I do sprints to get faster and improve efficiency. You know what? I've never done that. Anytime I'm running or doing one of those assault bikes, I'm trying to get in as much air through any orifice that will take it, because I need it. I mean, I guess you could make it harder by holding your breath. I don't know. I don't know the science on that. Is it helpful? I don't know. Do some research. I haven't seen where something like that would be helpful. Scientifically proven. Maybe somebody said, "Hey, this is what I did," and but I haven't seen any science behind it. If that makes sense. All right, one more question, and then I'm going to show some CSS videos. I'm the best. You are the best military coach I've ever met. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I am a coach, and I'm glad you called me a coach, because probably about a year ago, somebody called me an influencer. I was like, what? I've been a coach long before there was social media influencers. I'm still a coach. I just happen to utilize social media to help me spread the word. All right, I'm going to move on to the share my screen and show some videos. All right, so I got one queued up ready. So let's see what this one looks like. All right, here we go. You guys should be able to see that. No volume, good. So we're going to kick off the wall. Good streamline, I like that. See those shorts? Those are jammers. I'd highly recommend something that's not baggy and with pockets. That tends to slow you down a little bit. You'll see this was probably going to be a really fast one, if I remember right. Yeah, this is the breaststroke kicker. So top arm, bottom arm, kick. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Yeah, you could probably glide a little less, but if you notice, he's so streamlined, they still moving past 3 Mississippis. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, a little shorter. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. 2. That's a good glide. And it's fast, because he's coming across this thing right at... Oh, this is an interesting one, because I just noticed he's doing breaststroke kick this way. Interesting. So he's breathing on his left here. Does a breaststroke kick when he breathes on his left. And then coming back, he's breathing on his right, but notice the kick. Got a scissor kick. Huh. Not bad. Hey, that seems to be a good way to do it. I'm not going to argue with results. 45 seconds. That's a 7:30 pace right there. So, nicely done. All right, let's see what else we got here. I think I have another one here. Decent. Once again, he's got the jammers on, so should be looking good, looking fast. Let's see, top arm, bottom arm, kick. Now, if you notice the difference between this guy's kick and the last guy's kick, he brings that leg up really like perpendicular to his torso. And when you do that, that is like putting on the brakes when you swim. It's almost like, you kick, you get 2 steps forward, and then you bring that knee up, get 1 step back. So I like to have a little smaller kick and bring that knee and feet up under you, so you're still kind of in the slipstream of it. So notice this high knee, and it does slow him down quite a bit. If you notice, this is like a 54 second, so that's a 9-minute swim. Let's back this up again. Let's see. I'm going to show that other guy again real quick, just because I think it's that good. And notice the difference in his scissor kick. So we'll look on the way back when he's coming back. Notice this scissor kick on the way back. Notice how small it is. He doesn't bring that knee up so high. At least I didn't notice it in this one. Like, he brings the knee up, but notice his feet. His feet are right under him. His feet aren't out there grabbing water. So that's a really quick, almost like whip kick of that scissor kick, and he just boom. Yeah, see, that's smooth. That's smooth. So I would say that's the difference between some of these swimmers and others, is the size of their kick is slowing them down a little bit. I'm going to show you one with fins on this time. So check out this one. All right, so we got a big swimming with fins. All right, so we got some flutter kicks going on. Now notice these are real little flutter kicks. Probably needs to get a little bit bigger on these kicks. Like, I don't want them to look like scissor kicks, but I also don't want them to look like this, where if you notice, it looks like he's riding a bicycle, right? See how the knees are just going up? Looks like he's pedaling, right? You don't want to do it that way. It's not horribly slow, but it's not powerful. Like, you're not using the hips the way they're supposed to be used in these swims to, create power, because with these fins, you're not going to see a lot of speed increases compared to your non-fin swims. However, if you're in open water, where they will be needed is getting through knot currents or tides that are coming in that are throwing you off. So yes, he is not using lead arm, trail arm, because he's doing the CSS with fins. This is the way the Navy does it. Lead arm, trail arm is what the Air Force does. So, not sure what your comment was there. Let's see here. Jorge says, morning, Stu. Currently feeling a cold coming on. How would you go about training? Push through or dial it back? You know what? I just got through with COVID, and that's how I felt. I felt like I had a cold coming on. Little scratchy throat, stuffy nose, draining in my throat, and so I just went ahead and trained anyway, because when it's a head cold, I don't really care. If it's a chest cold, yeah, I dial it back a lot, just because the last thing I want to do is start coughing again, because sometimes that just aggravates your cough, and you don't want to have that. So let me show you guys. So play it by ear. If it's a head cold, go ahead and train. If it's a chest cold, pull back, maybe lay off the cardio. You can probably lift still, do some calisthenics, but keep your heart rate low. But if you're feeling bad, by day 3 of what I thought was a cold turned into full COVID, and I wound up laying in bed for 15 hours one day just because I felt like crap. All right, so I'm going to show you guys a short, because Ryan just goes, I didn't know there was a difference between lead arm, trail arm, and the CSS with fins. Well, I'm about to show you. In fact, it's a video up on my shorts. All right, so let me see if I can mute this. All right, so let me show you this video, because a lot of you guys are fairly new to this, I think, and just unaware
Both are
of
used
that the
throughout the
Navy
military
uses
special
this
ops
top
programs.
version
It's
of
really
the
preference, but both of them are highly
CSS.
effective
Okay.
underwater recovery strokes used
This is
with
the combat swimmer
swimming with
stroke.
fins and
Top
long
arm,
distance swimming.
basically top arm, bottom
Hey everybody,
arm,
Stu Smith here. Another
kick, kick, kick. So if you
critique of
notice,
the
he's really
CSS plus
doing,
another
he's on
Spec
his
Ops
side doing
used
flutter kicks, a
swimming stroke
little bit
called
more
the
in the hips on this one,
LATA,
and he just
otherwise
uses
LATA
his
or
arms when he
lead
needs to
arm
breathe.
trail arm with
Now,
fins.
the
Used
guy
by
down here,
is a
hopefully
Hey
I can
everybody, Stu
get
Smith
rid
here.
of this
Another
stuff.
critique of the CSS plus another Spec Ops used
The guy down here
swimming
is doing
stroke
lead arm,
called
trail
the
arm. If you notice, all he's doing is
LATA,
kicking.
otherwise LATA
Sorry, it's kind of
or
hard to see.
lead arm trail
All he's doing
arm
is kicking
with fins.
and
Used by the Air Force
not
primarily, and the Navy tends to use the CSS
not using his
with
arms
fins.
at all. That top arm stays
Both
on
are
his hip,
used
and the bottom
throughout the
arm
military special ops programs.
stays
It's really preference,
out in front
but
of them.
both of them are
just like
highly
that. So that's a
effective
lead arm, trail arm.
underwater recovery strokes used
So yeah,
with
two different things. Air Force uses one, Navy uses the other. Now I will say this: once you get to Navy dive school, you can use the CSS. So there you go. All right, so let's see what other questions we have. Best ways to knock off mile time down to 6. My advice is learn how to run a 6-minute mile. So there's a couple of different ways to do. Actually, I would say there's 3 different ways to do it, and you need to find which one works for you. Adding in more aerobic activity, like steady pace aerobic activity. They call it the aerobic base training, zone 2 training. Maybe you need that. If you don't, you feel like you've been running slow long enough, let's pick up some speed. Let's learn how to do goal pace running. That means, let's say you go do 8 400s, 8 quarter miles, and I want you to do each one of those in 90 seconds, a minute 30, because that minute 30 quarter is a 6-minute mile pace, and you start learning how to do that. You muscle memory that pace instead of just running to try to get a 6-minute mile, with no real strategy to it. That is how I do it mainly. And then, sometimes one of those, instead of doing all goal pace stuff, I like to throw in a sprint day, jog day. So more like intervals where you sprint, jog. So run as fast as you can for a minute and then jog for 2 minutes. And that gets pretty hard really quickly. I will say, the zone 2 training is really easy. The goal pace training is not super difficult, but the sprint jog stuff is really hard. And all 3 of them can be beneficial to you knocking off a minute off your mile time. But you just have to get in a system and a consistency of training with it. What I have done is I created this running plan. It's an article. You can just follow it however you want to follow it, but I'll put the link in here. I post this one just about every week, but it's called Running Plan to Get You To and Through Selection. Kind of teaches you how to focus on a 6-minute mile for the PST, but also a 7-minute mile for your longer runs that you're also going to be taking when you go through selection. I just got through COVID myself, and I pushed through training. It sucked because I felt lethargic all week, but wound up PRing in some of my runs. Good job. Yeah, I still trained. I just trained a lot less intensity for about 4 days, and then I was back to training normal. I will say this, though. I am, I guess, 2 weeks out from it, and I can still feel it when I push hard on running. Like yesterday we did 20 hundreds where you run 100 really fast and you come back nice and slow, and you do that every minute on the minute. I made it through it. Actually had to sit out one of them because I started coughing too much, but I got a lot of stuff up and then was able to make it up in the following minutes. But anyway, we all have our struggles when we we have some colds, but my advice is listen to it. Don't don't push too hard. When your lungs are congested, just because it overworks the heart. It's not really good for you. You wind up coughing more. Next thing you know, it turns into bronchitis, and then you're all jacked up. Let's see. All right. Any more questions? Do squats, lunges, leg strength exercises improve your distance run? Oh, do they? Yeah, absolutely. But here's the problem. It's hard to improve your distance running when you're doing strength exercises, strength training. The two just don't mix very well. And chances are you're not going to get good at either if you're doing both together. So that's why I always, that's why I use this fancy word for fitness budget called periodization, is because you need a cycle to focus on your strength and power and speed and agility. You need a cycle to focus on your muscle stamina and your cardiovascular endurance. Now, the neat thing about these things, as far as a tactical athlete is concerned, is you can't just neglect any of them. So you try to maintain one while you work the other. So you have two goals, one primary, secondary. I think I just mentioned this earlier today, and you focus on that. You focus on that primary first. Try to maintain this secondary goal. So, for instance, if you're trying to get a faster run, you're going to be focusing on your calisthenics and your cardio for some muscle stamina and cardiovascular conditioning. Both are very important for the legs. You want muscle stamina just as much as you want some strength. But then you do a cycle focusing on strength, maybe not worrying about pacing of your miles so much. Maybe just work on some speed work and agility work when you're working on your strength. Leave the long, slow distances to just a cool down run or a warm up run and do it like that. That's how I've kind of structured these over the years, and it just really works. And it doesn't burn you out. Doing it year after year, same old stuff, same cycle, doing everything just will burn you out, I promise you. Until you stop and because you're injured. Ryan just caught on to something. Yes, that is the Manchester United run. In fact, we've been doing it initially as just run down there any old time, come back nice and slow. So most of us were doing like 25 seconds down, 35 seconds back, and going every minute on the minute. Have about 5 seconds to rest before you go again. Boom. So wasn't that hard. Then we started using the Manchester United rule where every set gets a second faster. So you start off at 25, and then 10 sets of that, you're down to 15-second hundreds, and then you jog back, trying to catch your breath during the jogs and hit that every minute on the minute. And that's a tough one. That's a real tough one. So far, the most we've done so far is 25 sets of that, which is pretty close to the Man U workout. But it's a good one. A little gut check. Something I've been working on this cycle with all the guys, and where I'm seeing it work really well is there's events that occur at buds where there are little sprints that you have to do, and sometimes it's you're getting gooned or something, the extra buds, right? And you're doing push-ups and you're doing all these little things. You're wet and sandy, rolling around in the sand, and then somebody will say, run to that instructor about 150 yards away. First person that's there secures this evolution, and that is where it comes in handy. If you ever found yourself in that sprint situation to win something and you're done, might want to practice some of those sprint jog intervals for sure. Let's see. Good morning, Coach. For candidates going SFAS or MARSOC ANS, do you recommend practicing land nav beforehand to develop the skills? Yes, absolutely. Find somebody, whether you have to pay them to coach you to do it, or a good resource around here that we have used in the past is people on high school orienteering teams, where they're basically like cross country runners, but they're got a map and compass in their hand. And those guys, those guys are good, man. They are running through the freaking woods with a map and compass, getting from point to point, and they know their land nav. So we've actually had high school kids, teach us land nav. Just because they were training with us anyway, I get to know them. I say, "Oh, orienteering team. Oh, tell me about that." I'm saying, "Sweet, you need to teach all these guys land nav." And then we just went out to their course and did a land nav class as one of our workouts, which was a lot of fun. All right, folks. Let's see. I might have one more saved video that I can throw in here. I saw one I wanted to share because I don't know if it was so bad or so good. I can't remember. What's the oldest somebody's completed buds out of curiosity? I showed this one last week. I have a friend of mine who I see a couple times a year. And he was 38 years old when he graduated buds. So let me see if I can share this screen. I want to show this one just because a lot of times people get in a little hurry when they swim, and this is one of those situations. It's fast, but it's unsustainable, and usually the hurry occurs by skipping the glide. So let's see this. So I like good kick off the wall. Just do one dolphin kick if you can. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, one Mississippi. Yeah, see that? One Mississippi. So there's no glide here. And usually what's happening is he's got this glide going. He's got this extra kick going. I don't know if it's a flutter kick or a dolphin kick. Oh, it's fast. Still only a yard per second. He changes sides, and at least that looks. He changes kicks properly. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold the glide. Let's try to hold the glide for one Mississippi, two Mississippi, one Mississippi, two Mississippi. He could hold the glide a little longer, right? And this is a 51 second 50. Not horrible, but it's just so much effort compared to some of the other guys I've shown you doing a nice and easy, relaxed swim. In fact, let me see if I can find a good one here. Yeah, that's not one. I'm just going to pick one. I got like 20 ready to go, but I think this one was pretty good as I recall. So yeah, this is like a 43 second swim. That last one was like a 51, 52 second swim. Check out how it's faster. Like he's not doing as many strokes as the other guy. He's gliding longer. Check this out. So kicks off the wall, double arm pull solid, transitions into the stroke nicely. Top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold that glide. Notice that kick and the glide. One Mississippi, two Mississippi, three Mississippi. Yeah, I like it. Pulling on 3, 2, 3. Nice. One Mississippi, two Mississippi. Pull. Boom. Nice. Yeah, this is solid. This is like a sub 730 pace here. Somewhere between 7 and 730. So That other one we just saw was about a 9-minute, 8:30, 8:45 pace. And this one's a minute faster. Just by it's like relaxing and gliding just a little bit longer. Like that looks like a lot less effort, but it's a minute faster. So be efficient in the water. That's what matters. All right, let's see what else we got over here. You guys sticking around all this time. I appreciate it. Let's see. Well, looks like that's all my questions. Well, I do appreciate your time. And you guys go check out stewsmithfitness.com. Tons of stuff over there, a bunch of articles you can read, a bunch of videos in there. In those articles showing swimming, variety of workouts in there that can help you crush a PST. The PST Clinic's a great article that you should check out. All of these are also, there's workout books in there as well and programs. If you decide you want to buy something, save yourself 15% by using the coupon code LIVE15. So I appreciate you coming around to the live Q&As. I'll be back again next week, and we'll see you guys later.